Welcome back to Bible Quizzes. We got 70 questions for you guys today, so let's get started. Question 1. How many times a year that all men are to appear before the Lord, the God of Israel? 2, 3, or 4? Three. Exodus 34:23. 3 times a year all your men are to appear before the sovereign Lord, the God of Israel. 2. Moses' face is described in what word when Aaron and all the Israelites saw him? Radiant, burnt, or covered? Radiant. Exodus 34:30. When Aaron and all the Israelites saw Moses, his face was radiant, and they were afraid to come near him. 3. What kind of stones did the leaders bring to be mounted on the ephod and breastpiece of other gems? Onyx, emerald, or limestone? Onyx. Exodus 35:27. The leaders brought onyx stones and other gems to be mounted on the ephod and breastpiece. 4. What was placed in the tent of meeting opposite the table on the south side of the tabernacle? Lampstand, wine, or bread? Lampstand. Exodus 40:24. He placed the lampstand in the tent of meeting opposite the table on the south side of the tabernacle. 5. Who are the people given by God families of their own because they feared him? Midwives, doctors, or priests? Midwives. Exodus 1:21. And because the midwives feared God, he gave them families of their own. 6. What chapter in the book of Exodus explained clearly the 10 commandments of God? Exodus 19, Exodus 20, or Exodus 21? Exodus 20. The 10 Commandments found in chapter 20 of Exodus within the second book of the Old Testament consist of 10 concise principles which serve as guidelines for aligning one's life harmoniously with both God and fellow humans. The initial 4 commandments address our connection with the divine, while the remaining 6 focus on interpersonal relationships. 7. What place was considered as the land of slavery where the Lord brought out the Israelites? Israel, Egypt, or Babylon? Egypt. Exodus 22. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. 8. What day is considered as a Sabbath day to the Lord your God? 5th, 6th, or 7th? Seventh. Exodus 20:10. But the 7th day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you, nor your son or daughter, nor your male or female servant, nor your animals, nor any foreigner residing in your towns. 9. Who is said by God to go ahead to his people and will bring them into the land of the Amorites? Angel, priest, or kings? Angel. Exodus 23:23. My angel will go ahead of you and bring you into the land of the Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, Canaanites, Hivites, and Jebusites, and I will wipe them out. 10. How many stone pillars is set up at the foot of the mountain and represented by the tribes of Israel? 11, 12, or 13? Bronze. Exodus 24:4. Moses then wrote down everything the Lord had said. He got up early the next morning and built an altar at the foot of the mountain and set up 12 stone pillars representing the 12 tribes of Israel. 11. For how many days did the cloud cover the Mount Sinai? 5, 6, or 7? 6. Exodus 24:16, and the glory of the Lord settled on Mount Sinai. For 6 days the cloud covered the mountain, and on the 7th day the Lord called to Moses from within the cloud. 12. How many days did Moses stay in the mountain? 35, 40, or 45? 40. Exodus 24:18. Then Moses entered the cloud as he went on up the mountain, and he stayed on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. 13. How many curtains of goat hair was made for the tent over the tabernacle? 10, 11, or 12? 11. Exodus 26:7-8. Make curtains of goat hair for the tent over the tabernacle, 11 altogether. All 11 curtains are to be the same size, 30 cubits long and 4 cubits wide. 14. Aaron and his blank are to keep the lamps burning before the Lord from evening till morning. Brothers, sons, or friends? 'Sons, Exodus 27:21. In the tent of meeting, outside the curtain that shields the Ark of the Covenant law, Aaron and his sons are to keep the lamps burning before the Lord from evening till morning. This is to be a lasting ordinance among the Israelites for the generations to come. 15. What animal was brought to the front of the tent of meeting, and Aaron and his son laid their hands on his head? Bull, sheep, or camel? Bull. Exodus 29:10. Bring the bull to the front of the tent of meeting, and Aaron and his sons shall lay their hands on its head. 16. Who owns the sacred garments which will belong to his descendants so that they can be anointed and ordained in them? Aaron, Moses, or Jacob? Aaron. Exodus 29:29. Aaron's sacred garments will belong to his descendants so that they can be anointed and ordained in them. 17. How many days should the atonement for the altar be made and consecrated? 6, 7, or 8? 7. Exodus 29:37. For 7 days make atonement for the altar and consecrate it. Then the altar will be most holy, and whatever touches it will be holy. 18. To what place should Moses go back for those who wanted to kill him are all dead? Egypt, Babylon, or Israel? Egypt. Exodus 4:19. Now the Lord had said to Moses and Midian, Go back to Egypt, for all those who wanted to kill you are dead. 19. Moses told everything to blank by which the Lord had sent him to say, Abraham, Aaron, or Jacob. Aaron. Exodus 4:28. Then Moses told Aaron everything the Lord had sent him to say, and also about all the signs he had commanded him to perform. 20. Moses and Aaron brought together all the blank of the Israelites and told them everything the Lord had said to Moses, elders, priests, or people. Elders. Exodus 4:29. Moses and Aaron brought together all the elders of the Israelites. 21. Who questioned who is the Lord and why should he obey him and let Israel go? Solomon, Nebuchadnezzar, or Pharaoh? Pharaoh. Exodus 5:2. Pharaoh said, Who is the Lord that I should obey him and let Israel go? I do not know the Lord, and I will not let Israel go. 22. To what place did the king come who asked Moses and Aaron the reason they are taking away people from their labor? Egypt, Israel, or Judah? Egypt. Exodus 5:4. But the king of Egypt said, "Moses and Aaron, why are you taking the people away from their labor? Get back to your work." 23. The Lord brings you into the land of the blank and gives it to you and to your ancestors, Canaanites, Israelites, or Egyptians. Canaanites, Exodus 13:11. After the Lord brings you into the land of the Canaanites and gives it to you, as he promised on oath to you and your ancestors. 24. What desert did the Israelites camp in front of the mountain? Sinai, Jordan, or Egypt? Sinai, Exodus 19:2. After they set out from Rephidim, they entered the desert of Sinai, and Israel camped there in the desert in front of the mountain. 25. What place did the Lord save from the hands of the Egyptians? Israel, Babylon, or Philistine? Israel, Exodus 14:30. That day the Lord saved Israel from the hands of the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians lying dead on the shore. 26. Where did the whole Israelites community set out and come to the desert of Sin? Elim, Sinai, or Sodom? Elim, Exodus 16:1. The whole Israelite community set out from Elim and came to the desert of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after they had come out of Egypt. 27. Moses and Aaron told the Israelites that they will see the glory of the Lord in the blank because he has heard their grumbling against him. Morning, Exodus 16:7. And in the morning you will see the glory of the Lord, because he has heard your grumbling against him. Who are we that you should grumble against us? 28. Moses said to Aaron to take a jar and put an omer of blank in it, manna, fruits, or vegetables. Manna, Exodus 16:33. So Moses said to Aaron, take a jar and put an omer of manna in it. Then place it before the Lord to be kept for the generations to come. 29. What place did the Israelites camp, but there was no water for the people to drink? Rephidim, Judah, or Horeb? Rephidim, Exodus 17:1. The whole Israelite community set out from the desert of Sin, traveling from place to place as the Lord commanded. They camped at Rephidim, but there was no water for the people to drink. 30. What place did Moses strike the rock and water came out of it? Horeb, Sinai, or Jordan? Horeb, Exodus 17:6. I will stand there before you by the rock at Horeb. Strike the rock, and water will come out of it for the people to drink. So Moses did this in the sight of the elders of Israel. 31. What tribes did Joshua fight together with his men? Amalekites, Amorites, or Canaanites? Amalekites, Exodus 17:11. As long as Moses held up his hands, the Israelites were winning, but whenever he lowered his hands, the Amalekites were winning. 32. Who sang about the singing to the Lord, for he is highly exalted? Miriam, Martha, or Ruth? Miriam, Exodus 15:21. Miriam sang to them, sing to the Lord, for he is highly exalted. Both horse and driver he has hurled into the sea. 33. Who came and attacked the Israelites of Rephidim? Amalekites, Canaanites, or Israelites? Amalekites, Exodus 17:8. The Amalekites came and attacked the Israelites at Rephidim. 34. Who was delighted to hear about all the good things the Lord had done for Israel? Joshua, Jethro, or Jonas? Jethro, Exodus 18:9. Jethro was delighted to hear about all the good things the Lord had done for Israel in rescuing them from the hand of the Egyptians. 35. A person who strikes another person with fatal blow is to be put to blank: jail, death, or fire. Death. Exodus 21:12. Anyone who strikes a person with a fatal blow is to be put to death. 36. From where is the king who sent messages to Rahab ordering him to bring out the men who came and entered Rahab's house? Jericho, Egypt, or Israel? Jericho, Joshua 2:3. So the king of Jericho sent this message to Rahab: Bring out the men who came to you and entered your house, because they have come to spy out the whole land. 37. To whom did Jacob send a word to come out to the fields where his flocks were? Rachel and Leah, Rachel and Martha, or Rachel and Ruth? Rachel and Leah, Genesis 31:4. So Jacob sent word to Rachel and Leah to come out to the fields where his flocks were. 38. How many days did the officers went throughout the camp and give orders to the people? 3, 5, or 7? Three. Joshua 3:2. After 3 days, the officers went throughout the camp. 39. Who stole his father's household's gold when Laban had gone to shear his sheep? Rachel, Ruth, or Rebekah? Rachel. Genesis 31:19. When Laban had gone to shear his sheep, Rachel stole her father's household gods. 40. Who were the priests that are assigned to carry the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord? Levitical priests, high priests, or holy priests? Levitical priests. Joshua 3:3. Giving orders to the people: when you see the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord your God and the Levitical priests carrying it, you are to move out from your positions and follow it. 41. Who went into Jacob's tent, but he found nothing? Abimelech, Laban, or Leah? Laban. Genesis 31:33. So Laban went into Jacob's tent, and into Leah's tent, and into the tent of the 2 female servants, but he found nothing. After he came out of Leah's tent, he entered Rachel's tent. 42. Who was exalted by the Lord in the eyes of all Israel, so that they may know that he is with him as the Lord was with Moses? Joshua, James, or Joseph? Joshua. Joshua 3:7. And the Lord said to Joshua, Today I will begin to exalt you in the eyes of all Israel, so they may know that I am with you as I was with Moses. 43. Who kissed his grandchildren and daughters and blessed them before leaving and returning home? Abraham, Moses, or Laban? Laban. Genesis 31:55. Early the next morning, Laban kissed his grandchildren and his daughters and blessed them. Then he left and returned home. 44. Where did the people cross and the priest carrying the Ark of the Covenant went ahead of them? Jordan, Egypt, or Israel? Jordan, Joshua 3:14. So when the people broke camp to cross the Jordan, the priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant went ahead of them. 45. When Jacob looked up and saw Esau coming with his blank men, 300, 400, or 500. 300. Genesis 33:1. Jacob looked up and there was Esau coming with his 400 men. So he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and the 2 female servants. 46. How many men did Joshua call and was appointed by Israelites? 12, 15, or 24? Joshua 4:4. So Joshua called together the 12 men he had appointed from the Israelites, 1 from each tribe. 47. Who ran to meet Jacob and embraced him? Esau, Isaac, or Rebekah? Esau, Genesis 33:4. But Esau ran to meet Jacob and embraced him. He threw his arms around his neck and kissed him, and they wept. 48. They took the stones from the blank of Jordan River according to the number of the tribes of Israel, middle, side, or front. Middle, Joshua 4:8. So the Israelites did as Joshua commanded them. They took 12 stones from the middle of the Jordan, according to the number of the tribes of the Israelites, as the Lord had told Joshua, and they carried them over with them to their camp, where they put them down. 49. What is the name of the altar built by Jacob in the land of Canaan? El Bethel, El Haven, or El Philippi? El Bethel, Genesis 35:7. There he built an altar, and he called the place El Bethel, because it was there that God revealed himself to him when he was fleeing from his brother. 50. Who carried the ark and remained standing until everything the Lord had commanded Joshua? People, priests, or elders? Priests. Joshua 4:10. Now the priests who carried the ark remained standing in the middle of the Jordan until everything the Lord had commanded Joshua was done by the people, just as Moses had directed Joshua. The people hurried over. 51. What was the name of Rebekah's nurse who died and was buried under the oak outside Bethel? Deborah, Luz, or Sophia? Deborah, Genesis 35:8. Now Deborah, Rebekah's nurse, died and was buried under the oak outside Bethel, so it was named Allon-Bacuth. 52. God replaced Jacob's name into Israel, Judah, or Joseph. Israel, Genesis 35:10. God said to him, Your name is Jacob, but you will no longer be called Jacob. Your name will be Israel. So he named him Israel. 53. On the 10th day of the first month, the people went up from Jordan and camped at blank on the eastern border of Jericho, Gilgal, Salem, or Capernaum. Gilgal, Joshua 4:19. On the 10th day of the first month, the people went up from the Jordan and camped at Gilgal on the eastern border of Jericho. 54. On the way to what place was Rachel buried when she died? Ephrath, Judea, or Egypt? Bethlehem. Genesis 35:19. So Rachel died and was buried on the way to Ephrath, that is, Bethlehem. 55. What gates was securely barred because of the Israelites? Jericho, Babylon, or Egypt? Jericho, Joshua 6:1. Now the gates of Jericho were securely barred because of the Israelites. No one went out and no one came in. 56. What is the name of Israel's son whom he loved most because he had been born to his old age? Judah, Joseph, or Benjamin? Joseph, Genesis 37:3. Now Israel loved Joseph more than any of his other sons because he had been born to him in his old age, and he made an ornate robe for him. 57. How many days did Joshua and its fighting men march around the city? 6, 7, or 8? Six. Joshua 6:3. March around the city once with all the armed men. Do this for 6 days. 58. What place did Joseph arrive wherein a man found him wandering around the fields? Shechem, Gihon, or Gethsemane? Shechem, Genesis 37:14-15. When Joseph arrived at Shechem, a man found him wandering around in the fields and asked him, "What are you looking for?" 59. What was the name of the prostitute that was spared because she hid the spies? Hagar, Rahab, or Naomi? Rahab, Joshua 6:17. The city and all that is in it are to be devoted to the Lord. Only Rahab the prostitute and all who are with her in her house shall be spared, because she hid the spies when we sent. 60. What is the name of Joseph's brother who suggested to sell him to the Ishmaelites? Reuben, Judah, or Manasseh? Judah, Genesis 37:26-27. Judah said to his brothers, "What will we gain if we kill our brother and cover up his blood? Come, let's sell him to the Ishmaelites and not lay our hands on him. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood." His brothers agreed. 61. Who were unfaithful regarding the devoted things? Philistinians, Israelites, or Canaanites? Israelites, Joshua 7:1. But the Israelites were unfaithful in regard to the devoted things. Achan, son of Carmi, the son of Zimri, the son of Zerah, of the tribe of Judah, took some of them. So the Lord's anger burned against Israel. 62. To whom did the Midianites sell Joseph when they arrived in Egypt? Potiphar, Salmon, or Esther? Potiphar, Genesis 37:36. Meanwhile, the Midianites sold Joseph in Egypt to Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard. 63. Whose clan came forward while the Zerahites were chosen? Judah, Israel, or Benjamin? Judah, Joshua 7:17. The clans of Judah came forward and the Zerahites were chosen. He had the clan of the Zerahites come forward by families and Zimri was chosen. 64. Who was angry with his two officials, which are the chief cupbearer and the chief maker? Pharaoh, Solomon, or Saul? Pharaoh, Genesis 42. Pharaoh was angry with his two officials, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker. 65. Who replied and admitted that it is true that he have sinned against the Lord, the God of Israel? Achan, Zerah, or Zimri? Achan, Joshua 7:20. Achan replied, "It is true, I have sinned against the Lord, the God of Israel. This is what I have done." 66. Who noticed that Laban's attitude towards him was not what it had been? David, Jacob, or Abraham? Jacob, Genesis 31:2. And Jacob noticed that Laban's attitude toward him was not what it had been. 67. Who did not remember Joseph and totally forgot him? Chief cupbearer, chief maker, or winemaker? Chief cupbearer, Genesis 40:23. The chief cupbearer, however, did not remember Joseph. He forgot him. 68. How many gold rings for the table were made and fastened to the table's legs and corners? 3, 4, or 5? 4. Exodus 25:26. Make 4 gold rings for the table and fasten them to the 4 corners where the 4 legs are. 69. Jacob had pitched his tent in the hill country of blank when Laban overtook him. Gilead, Judea, or Sidon? Gilead, Genesis 31:25. Jacob had pitched his tent in the hill country of Gilead when Laban overtook him, and Laban and his relatives camped there too. 70. What will be rained down from heaven each day for the whole Israelites' food? Manna, bread, or fish? Bread. Exodus 16:4. Then the Lord said to Moses, I will rain down bread from heaven for you. The people are to go out each day and gather enough for that day. In this way, I will test them and see whether they will follow my instructions. And that's all the questions we have for today. So remember, put your score in the comments down below, then share this with your friends and family to compare your score against theirs. Then we'll see you in the next one.